the generation of leads and the actual wheel with regards to sales is still something that I'm fighting with today, but thanks to you and the team, it's something that's getting better and better.
So Rene, when you started KPI, I think we met, it was 3 years ago, maybe.
2.5 years, yeah.
2.5 years. And it's been wonderful 2.5 years. You've been an amazing member of the community, and so we're thrilled. We've been thrilled to have you a part of everything we do. So thank you. And you came into KPI with a very well-established IT consulting business called Indominus. But as you were going through the journey, you were kind of noticing something about the IT industry, and you're also noticing some evolutions based on some of the work you were doing inside KPI. Can you share more about that?
One thing I did in KPI was learning to trust the process, which I didn't do originally, and it did cost me some time, as you well know, Mike. So what happened is that I started the process thinking, I'm an IT architect, so I'll productize, my practice. And so I spent a year building what I used to call Blueprint for Modern IT, which was a way for companies that wanted to transform digitally to actually, harmonize all their IT architecture and stuff like that. So I go to this event, which is a CEO event, and something's not right. I speak to 50 CEOs, none of them are interested. I walk on stage, and here I am sitting beside, a cybersecurity expert and the CEO of D-Box, and we're actually going through what happened to their business during a security incident. And within half an hour, I have 150 spellbound, shaking CEOs that are all still talking to me about cybersecurity and how much they got the message and they understood it was urgent and that was now their priority. So we basically flipped the company. We did a 180 and we focused on cybersecurity. We understood while doing all that thought process that SMBs were, basically left out of the cybersecurity loop. And some of them already had the tools, but didn't know how to use it, didn't know how to configure them. So we actually turned around and built a product that came and automated the entire cyber defense of Microsoft. And we've shifted the company vision. We went from, helping you architect your future to securing your future. And with a 10-year vision of, putting a stop to cybercrime. So we actually created the hashtag, cybercrime is dead, and stop the bully, because we were able to relate cybercriminality very much to bullying in school. It's this guy that has this power, and suddenly he wants to come in and take away all your money because he can. So we wouldn't stand there and just watch that happen.
Okay. And so now when you introduce the business or pitch the business, what do you say?
Good afternoon. My name is René-Sylvain Bedard. I'm the founder of Indominus Managed Security, and we protect small and medium businesses' devices against cyber criminal.
Okay. Wow. Amazing. And that's a big shift from, what it was before. I mean, for some people who are, look at the IT industry as one broad bucket, of course, it might seem like something very similar, but in fact, from what you mentioned and at that conference, you went from a pitch that was landing pretty flat,
yep,
to the right target audience, but the messaging and the pain points just weren't there compared to when you now go out and talk about cybersecurity, instant recognition. And so from off the back of that conference, that was a pivotal moment, because I remember you coming back to some of the sessions and you saying that was mind-blowing for me. I went from really like struggling against the grain of a bit of a dying industry, and then I went to that conference and boom, explosion of interest.
Yeah.
What did you start to put into place thereafter?
So we basically started designing our product called Spartan Guard, and the product was still in early development stage, and we ended up having people expressing interest to invest in the product, which we had tried 5 years earlier with zero or no interest because we were just the same as everybody else. And then suddenly we have a product within, we launched a product in April. So consider that the conference was in June. That was less than 8 months later. We had a product, was fully automated, and we had what we called an MVP, minimum viable product that people were willing to pay for. So here we are. We unctioned our first customer like a week after creating the product. And within that first week, he had such a wow moment. He told us, look, I want to do videos. I'll score you anywhere. Just tell me where to go. It's great. I love it. I want more. And we're like, we're not ready, but we'll get back to you. So we were actually caught by surprise by how powerful the product, the messaging, and the actual, experience was. Where this customer, when we walked in, we scored him right away on our cybersecurity scale. He was at 6%. And within a week, we brought him to 93. And he got his first security report. He was like, wow, I actually understand this. I see what you're talking about, and I understand what I have to do. And it was awesome.
And it's a good example of, for anyone watching this in the community, that we talk about, the importance of finding the right customer, finding people that you love to work with, you've got an affinity for working with, you can solve a big problem for them, they've got the money and the willingness to spend. But there's also this other criteria, which is, to what degree is the industry is there growing demand, or at the very least stable demand versus declining demand? And it feels like, one of, again, the big sort of powerful shifts is you move from an industry that's got slowing or declining demand to one that's got increasing demand, and the speed at which things start to happen, it almost feels a lot more effortless. Can you, I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I can confirm, and I can even go further. So ever since we made that shift, I started giving out conferences about cybersecurity, because I've been an IT architect for 30 years. So one thing I know how to do is how to take a very complex situation and actually explain them in lame term, so that people actually understand what I'm talking about. So here I am at a conference in GoSec, and I'm actually going through the first Tower 12 of an attack, when people are actually, when they don't even know they've been attacked yet. They've double-clicked on something they don't know, but you actually have an hour 12 to respond. The feedback I got from that, I've given, other conferences before, but that was just love. It's like, my God, now I understand. And it went on. I gave 20 conferences in the past year and a half. I'm just back from one where I actually had my first interview ever on stage in front of 500 people for my upcoming book. And so last year, within all of this crazy thing, we actually came out, and I started writing on July 28th. And by October 18, I had, 45,000 words. And it just, through Rethink Press, which, Mike, I believe you know, but basically lots of support, lots of help from them. It should come out, I'd say beginning of August. We're finalizing the last details, but the actual cover has been chosen. Great feedback also from the crowd at ITSec. So, and last but not least, I've also been selected as, or nominated, I should say, as a Best Technology Speaker of the Year. So.
Oh, that is incredible. After 30 years of being in the industry,
yep.
Were you receiving those kind of accolades before, or?
No, I received internal accolades in the company that I work for, like, best people to bring technology together from different groups, and best pre-sale, and stuff like that. But from the public, this is the speaker awards are from 22 countries, and I'm one of 3. So I'm like, they've received 1,000 submissions, and I'm one of 3. And I'm like,
congratulations. And so talk to us more about some of the traction that's been coming with the new product. You've got something that's more scalable. It's you don't, unlike the bespoke custom consulting work you were doing before, it's now a product. What's been the experience of moving from bespoke custom work to this more scalable, productized offering, and any other little wins that you could share?
So I'd say we've taken like 7 months to really own the product and make sure that the customer was, totally satisfied. We covered everything. We even added we're now supporting Mac, for example, and we weren't supporting them before. So we made it grow, made it more solid. And one of the things that amazed me is that when I started talking to it, let's say, more publicly and making more direct approach to SMBs, we went from the 30 device of the original, first client to 300 within 2 months. And I'm like, God, that's easier.
You charge per device?
We charge per device, yes. We're at 9.99 Canadian per device with two simple option. That exclude licenses, but the idea is that if you already are in the Microsoft stack, most of the licenses are already there, so it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is that we never saw such traction in IT consulting. In IT consulting, it's actually quite the opposite. There's 1,000 of us that want to place consultants, and they just let us rip each other apart. And who's got the lowest cost? And suddenly, I'm in a world where customers are basically telling me we couldn't find anybody that would actually show us what was, or that could give us visibility into our network, and so we know what's happening and receive alerts, and have someone support us. We have this guy who's taking care of our IT, but he's not a security guy, and we know that. So we needed someone to come in and actually make a difference for us in cybersecurity. And then suddenly they open the world to you, right? They tell you, oh, by the way, I want this customer, but I have this security survey. Can you help me with that? So we become trusted advisor.
Tell us about the experience of writing the book.
It's been, I won't say demanding, because I've been writing like most of my career, but it has been a reflection of every single day. When I got up, I would walk to my computer with a coffee and sit down for an hour and a half and just brain dump everything into this plan that I had already built. So that way I wouldn't start from a blank page. Once I finished a section, I had the other section already, pre-populated. And it clarified a lot of things. It's suddenly a lot of the concepts that were vague, came into light, because when you write down about something and you start focusing all your energy onto that particular section. So for example, the book's called Secure by Design. Secure is actually the acronym of our method, and it goes for survey, educate, construct, unify, review, and evolve. Now, while I was doing education, for example, I actually took the time to think why it's not working. Because there are people that are, throwing money, quote unquote, at attempting to educate employees. And it got me thinking to the point where, okay, so we have employees. What about their employer? What about their management? Do they believe in cyber? Do they show them? Are they the right model when it came to establishing a cybersecurity culture? And that's when I flipped. I said, no, Mr. Owner, you have to start learning cybersecurity first. You have to be the model. Then bring that into your KPI, bring that into your management meeting, bring that to your management team. Once your management team is also learning and is on board, they'll bring it down to their employee. And then everybody's going to be speaking the same language. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But that line of thinking required that I actually took down the IDs and put them on paper and made sense of them on paper.
Throughout the KPI journey, were there any maxims or principles or frameworks that were a real light bulb moment for you?
Quite a few, actually. I'd say this, practice your pitch because you're always pitching. That one just, stuck with me because I never used the thought of my one-liner opening of what are you and what are you doing as an official pitch. But quite frankly, when when we went down and actually looked at creating the product, it suddenly made sense, because I wasn't, oh, we have a consulting company in IT and we basically support Microsoft Cloud and cybersecurity customers. No, we're, protecting small, medium businesses' devices against cyber criminal. We stop the bully. It's day and night. The clarity, I remember the first capstone pitch I did, I really focused on my strength, which was architecture. But when I redid it for security, where it took me, weeks to bring together for architecture, I think within 3 days we had a capstone pitch that was actually crisp and everybody understood and everybody got the point that we were getting across. Being on your X, it's that's basically what it feels like.
Yeah. And, for anyone that's watching again, it's like what René is pointing to, which is it goes through some iterations and evolutions. It's not, don't expect the first version of it to be the version, but it's the refinement and the iteration. What's been the hardest thing in this whole journey?
I'll do a little story if you don't mind. So here I am in a brain trust group within Dent, and I'm explaining that I am not a salesman, right? I'm an IT architect. I don't do sales and I'm not good in sales. And then Mike and some of the others actually join in and say, well, René, how much sales did you do last year? And I go, well, we sold just shy of 2 million. And he says, how many sales rep do you have? I said, I don't have any. And then someone, I will shy her name, says, well, you should shut up because you're the sales rep, That imposter syndrome when it comes to sales is actually what I needed to work the most on to get my numbers to where I needed them to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And that would resonate with a lot of people watching in the community because, the truth, the reality is for many small business owners, you're great at what you do and yet probably shy away a little bit from sales and selling, and understandably, it's like we don't want to feel whether it's icky or we don't like to be sold to. We don't want to come across as one of those salespeople, and also you've got a skill in whatever it is you do, and we don't tend to identify that with being necessarily a great salesperson. So that's a whole journey, I think, for many of the KPIs in the community kind of go through. And if that's you, don't feel ashamed of it. Lean into it. What's some advice you would give, René, to anyone who's going through this experience, maybe has experienced a lot of upheaval and evolution in the same way you have? And not to say that you're out of the woods yet, but with everything that you've learned and kind of where things are going in the future, what would you say to someone who's earlier in the journey?
Dig in. And what I mean by that is that you have the answers, deep in you. And sometimes they won't necessarily come out of your light side. So for example, architecture for me is a memory from my grandfather. It's something that I've always wanted to do. It's very much a light for me. When I told my staff we're going cybersecurity, and they're asking me, why are we going cyber? And I said, we're going to stop the bully. Every single one of my staff understood. But it's not a place where we wanted to look. I mean, bullies in school is nobody's dream. Stopping the bully actually, made sense to everybody because we've all seen bullies. Some of us have been victim of bullies. We all know how it feels like. So everybody can relate that a cyber attack and bullying isn't the same team, same type of persona. So, but I actually had to look inside and actually decide, okay, it's not what I thought I would need to do, but this is what the universe and the market is telling me to do. And I had to be humble enough to actually accept that, dig in, go and see, what are my values? How does it fit with that? How does it make a difference? And from there, just, boldly go forward.
And it sounds like there's something in there that's probably has a powerful why, for you as
Exactly.
well.
Totally.
Do you feel like this iteration of the business kind of is more on purpose, on mission for you than before?
Totally. I mean, I had the privilege to also do a cybersecurity accelerator, and one of the mentor there was from the defense, and his mission, quote unquote, was about creating culture and assessing value of the owner, because those become the value of the actual company. And he was able to distill my soul within a few minutes. But the idea is that one of the big values that come up was security and connection, which totally makes sense with what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. René-Sylvain Bedard, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your gifts with the world and with the community. If you're watching this and you want to connect with René, jump in the comments, give him some love, share kind of what most resonated with you from this little showcase and fireside with René. And if there's any opportunities you see for possible partnership, or maybe there's a connection or an introduction that you think could be valuable for René, don't be shy. Jump in the comments, send him a DM, and René, until next time, we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks.